I'm just waiting a second to get started for reasons of my own. All right, so welcome to Phoenix Unleashed. This is episode 11, actually, and I am Shifra Hendry, your host. Today, I want to have a serious conversation about the nature of reality, what the heck we're doing here, what's happening in the world, and what is your role in the matter? Where are your choices? So I'm going to try to do this in a kind of as concise and short a way as possible. It's really very deep conversation. So let me start by just mentioning that the world was created through a process of the creator concealing herself almost completely to make an empty space known as the makom panui, or the halal, kind of womb of creation in which things, beings, everything that exists in the multiverse would have a space of apparent emptiness in order to emerge as separate beings. And that's really the nature of being human. And that is not a past tense experience. God is everything. What's the definition for God? Forget about what you were educated with. Forget about your background. Forget about your religion. What is God? God is everything. The isness, you could say. God is all there is. And the big secret about God that was innovated by the patriarch Abraham, I'm going to talk about a bit. The big secret about God is that it's one. Everything is essentially one, meaning that everything, no matter what it looks like or how in conflict it appears to be with something else or itself, everything is emerging from within, continuously from within, this oneness, this one consciousness, this one beingness, this one isness, this one vast intelligence, this one vast creative, I don't know if I should say entity, isness, beingness. And that's the truth. And that's how come people can say things like we're all one, it's the oneness, which people are starting to kind of feel, more, even if we don't get it emotionally or always experience it that way. There's a kind of a thing that people are picking up in our times, that it's one. And this is the innovation of Abraham Avinu, that he picked up, he intuited, he found that oneness, the nature of life around him back then, thousands of years ago, was that people, helpless, vulnerable, temporary as people are so far, were found power through finding or creating, either worshiping either the sun, the moon, the stars, the cosmos, or, little statues that represented powers, real or imagined, and they would worship those and placate them and bow down to them, and in doing that they would have some control over their universe. Now the honest truth is, I don't know if that actually worked on some level. Maybe it did. There are a lot of forces in the world, but it's the opposite of the core secret of reality that we are here to lean into now, and that is there is only one. There's one. And anything that shows up, whether it has some kind of power or not, my computer has some power. Does that mean that it exists on its own? No. It's just one manifestation of oneness, of the one. And that's what I want to talk about, because the one has certain qualities and characteristics, certain desires, certain goals. And that's the reason for all of this multiverse of illusion and sometimes conflict. And one of the core desires, maybe the core desire of the isness of the one, is that everything in the universe should recognize that core oneness, that core isness within its own self, from its own self. I want to say from its own free will. The truth is that only creatures that have free will in the entire universe are us humans on Earth. I do believe, I'm coming to believe, which I didn't before, and I kind of feel like I want to talk about it, but not today. I'm coming to believe that there are other beings and consciousnesses. I know that Zohar says under the earth, and I think above the earth also. I know that the Rambam Maimonides says that even that the planets and the heavenly bodies are conscious, that they're singing praises to God as they rotate in their orbits. The orbits of those heavenly bodies are actually the mamutza machaber, the connecting factor between the lowest angels. They're controlled by the cycle angels, but not that's called the Ofanim, and move the stars and whatever, and create events and results and tendencies in the world. We call the science of astrology, but we're not meant to be ruled by those things. That just kind of brings the playing board into existence with certain configurations, and we're meant to connect to the oneness that's not only above it but within it, and to operate as co-creators to actually change the nature of how things show up. And that starts with changing the nature of how things show up in our own awareness and in our own emotions and the actions and that they generate. And it is really, really, really important. That's why I'm saying it's a serious conversation. There is nothing more important, in a general way. If your child needs to get dinner, that's the most important at the moment. But there's, in a general way, as a general principle of our times and for each of us in our world, individually, collectively, there is nothing more important than recognizing the true nature of reality and stepping into the power and purpose that we have, the reason why we're here. We are here for a reason. Although we have individual aspects of purpose, individual things that we're meant to accomplish or reveal in the world, all of us here are here with this one common purpose, and that is to reveal the one within the many. And so I want to ask you, first of all, what do you believe? Do you believe in something deeper than what you see? I know that we as humans, I know for myself, we all know that we operate on many levels. And on the surface level, that's the main place that we live. The main place we live is we get up in the morning. Are we tired? Does our body ache? Do we feel good? Do we have too much to do? Do we have not enough to do? Or do we have worries that we bring back, that we fell asleep with, maybe dreamt about, bring it back up in the morning? Or do we have goals and plans? That's where we're living. We're living on that surface level all the time. That goes without saying, because that's the expression of the human being. It is that surface level. What you accomplish, you're going to accomplish from within your body. The things that you process, you're going to process from within your mind. Your emotions are going to process from within your heart. The actions you take are going to be within the context of your life. That's like the playing field that is created together with you as you are recreated at every moment. But the question that I have for you is, how deep do you go? Is that all there is to you? And then the world around you, if there's more to you, and I think most of us sense, at least if we don't passionately connect to the reality that there's more to each of us, far more, at least we sense it. And since that is true of you, that is also absolutely 100% true of the world around you. There's the surface level of things as they look, as they occur in front of us. But in truth, we're living in a virtual reality. We really are. There's nothing here but the isness, the being. There's nothing here but the one. And that one dresses up in, I think I did this once before on the show, dresses up in costume. The costume might look like you. It might look like your grocery store. It might look like your government. It might look like a law of nature, and it's functioning, and that's all you see. You see it. You can't tell me this isn't real. I see it in front of my face. I can shake its hand. Real. But actually, is it? On this level, yes. On this level, not at all. Its reality is really the hand, which is connected to the arm, which is connected to the body, which is connected to the brain, which is connected to the mission, which is connected to, the whole, the oneness. Everything goes back to the one. So it's really, really, really crucially important, because humanity is awakening now, and humanity needs to awaken. That is our destiny, and we are being pushed, pulled, prodded, scared, inspired, and everything else you could possibly imagine to provoke and catalyze that awakening. What is the nature of the awakening? To remember the one. We don't remember the one just outside of us. Not just one, God's not just, God isn't just like we say a heaven. What is heaven? Heaven represents spirituality. Earth represents physicality. The one is equally in heaven and earth, actually more on earth and beyond and beneath and above and within. And that one needs to emerge not only outside of you, but from within you. And that's human awakening. Human awakening is real. And again, it's that remembering. It's that connection with the deeper levels of who you actually are and where you come from and what your nature is. There are layers of you. That puppet is the most superficial layer. What do you look like? What are your repetitive thoughts? Those 95% of the thoughts that we repeat every day, consciously or unconsciously, constantly giving the same opinion. I look in the mirror, you say the same thing you said to yourself 1,000 times, 2,000 times. You're so gorgeous. If that's what you're saying to yourself, keep repeating it. It's great. Mostly that's not what we're saying to ourselves. We're looking at the people in our life, and we're saying, you're the most wonderful thing that ever happened to me. Or, you're saying something else. And if you're saying something else, you said it a lot of times. Then you look around at the world, and you have your opinions about the world and what people do and what they shouldn't do and how it works and who's in charge and who's not in charge and what people are doing wrong and who's right. And all of this is designed to make the insubstantial self-image of a person, the ego, feel real. And it's really not. It's just this. It's an appearance, it's a form. It's the outermost form into which the inner dimensions have to flow. So the question is, how deep can we get it to be? How deeply can we connect to that flow? From what depth of ourselves? What depth of myself right now can I connect to? Where can I find that oneness, connect and reveal, seek out that oneness in everything that's happening around me? And that oneness does everything, but nothing without a purpose. Everything that happens in your life. You want to know what Hasidus, what mystical Torah says about the world? The world doesn't exist as a solid. Some of you know this already. Some of you have heard me say it. It's science on the quantum level will back this up 100% because nature is starting to reveal the truth instead of concealing it. That's another thing that's happening. What's the truth about nature? Oh, this laptop looks so solid. This desk looks so solid. This body looks so solid. But is it? It's not only spirituality and religion that will tell you no. Physics will tell you no. No, it's not solid. You don't even have to go to the quantum level. You're made up of rapidly moving particles that are that are themselves made up of rapidly moving parts that if you go deep enough, there aren't even parts. It's just energy. And what is that energy? It's called quantum. It's core isness, ready to take form, moving in and out of form. So there's a method to this, and we are being created at every instant. An undefined tiny dimension that's beyond time and moves into time. That's an instant. I like to call it a nano instant, just because you need words. The brain operates on words, and then it can go higher than words. But the world is being recreated from infinite isness at every instant, from nothing, out of divine desire. Likewise you, likewise everything in your world. It's nothing but a virtual reality that matters intensely to the creator, to you, and to everyone. Virtual reality, is it real? Kind of. But it's all just God moving in and out of form. So is it real in that sense? Like it's solid, it's stuck, it's inevitable? Not at all. And the nature of the human condition until now has been to see it that way. The nature of what we are experiencing in our world through the people around us, the people with, I'm talking about the people with agendas, the souls that have, the general souls, the cosmic souls that have reincarnated to take an unfavorable role in catalyzing humanity's awakening through pressure. Let's put it that way. We're taught that they will all reappear in these times. What will they look like? They're not going to look like souls. They're going to look like people. Right? They're going to look like people with names and backgrounds. And it's going to be really easy for us to say, that's just a person, and not to see the cosmic force that is incarnated in that person that's designed to facilitate God's purpose, which is human awakening, liberation, oneness. This is very serious, you guys. This is life and death. So Abraham lived in a world of idol worship, like I said, and his father actually had an idol store, and one day he smashed all the idols and he put the hammer in the hand of the biggest idol, which he didn't smash. And when his father came in and said, "What did you do?" He said, "I didn't do it. That idol did it." And his father didn't believe him, meaning that the whole thing was nothing but a fraud. And his enemy was named Nimrod, who was a powerful person who was the first to exploit man to his detriment. And it just went on from there. So you had the power of the one, Malubash, and clothed in Abraham and his story and his seeking, the father of all monotheism, the revealer, the first revealer. The first is always the one that gets the credit for everything, because the first would never have started without the first, the last also. Truthfully, everything in between, but the first is a big deal. Abraham is the bedrock of monotheism, and his mission and his vision is only continuing to flourish and grow as we move into that oneness. And Nimrod, what was Nimrod? The deceiver. the snake that's also reincarnated in every generation in multiple figures whose agenda, the people of the Tower of Babel, the descendants of the Nephilim. There are all different ways to look at this, but it's all snake energy that is running through humanity as a counter force to the emergence of oneness, of awakening, of the awakening divine soul within the body and personality, within the ego-based identity. Force and counterforce, force and counterforce. This is a cosmic principle as well. And when we want to get strong and we lift weights, force, counterforce against resistance. Where does our strength come out? Where does our power come out? Where does our miraculous power come out? Where does our deeper self come out? Against the resistance. To make it easier, but you still have to get the resistance. You could make it easier because you can engage and challenge yourself against your own resistance out of free will and joy. And that's a lot more fun than challenging yourself out of terror and helplessness. And it's obvious to anyone looking. Not everyone's looking yet. It's obvious that there is an agenda, very strong and very much on the surface in charge still, although that is definitely changing, and what it looks like on the surface is not actually what's happening. On a deeper level, as always, the deeper level, the deeper you go, the truer it is. That's our path to go deeper and deeper into more truth, to open our eyes and see. But on the surface level, the Nimrod, the Tower of Babel, the exploiters have the upper hand, and they're ruling by fear. Mostly by fear. It's not even mostly by weapons or violence anymore, which is pretty interesting if you think about it. Like we are in the prophesied war called Gog and Magog. There are a lot of different opinions on how it will unfold, and none of them know absolutely certain, but it's a final war immediately before the ultimate redemption. And what is happening in that Gog and Magog? There are different prophecies that say it will be, could be like, I don't even want to say what it says. You can look up prophecy, end time prophecies, and you can see them. But prophecies, negative prophecies, do not have to come true. They're not even, God doesn't want them to come true. They're just like, if you don't clean your room, that's a negative prophecy. But the stage on which everything is playing out it's a life and death stage. It's the stage of human reality. So it's not just like a TV show. Even though it's not here to last forever, this phase isn't lasting forever. We're almost done with the suffering. We're not done with the life. We're almost done with the suffering, the planned obsolescence, the decay of the body, the traumas of the heart. But this is the time when every one of us needs to step up and play our role, the role for which your soul keeps coming back into your body now and now and now at every instant, just to make that happen. So how deep do you go? How deep can your consciousness be? How much can you allow for the reality that contradicts your eyes and your sense of touch, all of your senses? Your eyes tell you this desk is real. They tell me, I'm looking at this wooden desk. It's real. My hand is hitting the desk and it hurts, and it's telling me this desk is here. And I hear that sound. My ears are telling me that too. If I wanted, I could smell the wood, whatever. The point is that our senses are here to help with the delusion, with the illusion within which we operate. Force, counterforce. Strength comes through resistance. Our souls see deeper. Our innermost core sees everything. It's made of divine essence, and there are levels and layers. And all of that ultimately needs to show up right here and right here. It's me hitting the desk, so that we can be in the physical world and see right through it at the same time. There's a story of two great tzaddikim, the Alter Rebbe and the Berditchever. They lived in the 1700s, second half of the 1700s. They were related, and they were at a wedding. That's the story, and it was really, really crowded, and they wanted to leave, and they just literally could not move through the crowd. And the Berditchever said to the Alter Rebbe, should we just walk through the wall? Should we just go? I don't know if he said walk. Should we just go through the wall? And the Alter Rebbe didn't say, what do you mean? He said, the time hasn't come for that yet. Guess what, you guys? The time has come. And if it hasn't come yet, it's coming. And how do we make it come? By connecting with it, because this is where it happens, right here, right here, right here. This is where change happens. This is where reality changes. So I want to talk a bit about freedom. You get to take yourself seriously or not. You get to be free in your thoughts to explore that deeper reality and to explore breaking through the former laws of nature, because they are malleable now, because they're not real. They're temporary for a purpose, force and counterforce. Or you can choose not to. You can choose not to participate, but it doesn't mean you won't have the same awakening. Everybody's going to have the same awakening. Are you going to have it like, happy, proud, excited, going to the gym? I love the burn. Look how strong I am. Or are you going to have it like, why do I have to carry this heavy pack? I can't stand it. I'm overwhelmed. I'm so scared. That's our choice, basically. And it's a serious one. And there are many forces in the world, including in media, that are designed for carrying the energy of the snake. They're the counterforce. Ultimately, it's all God and it's all good, but we have to see through those walls. If we can't walk through them yet, we've got to see through them. Otherwise, we're just slaves. And those voices will tell you, the media will tell you a whole story about reality that's not even true. And it's designed to keep you in slavery. So freedom is fundamental. I want to talk about freedom, and then I'm going to talk about unity, and then we'll say bye for today. I, for one, am extremely excited about the trucker convoy. Why? I'm not a truck driver. I'm not Canadian. And normally I wouldn't be excited about trucks blocking supply chains and so forth, but these truckers are giving up their work and they're uniting thousands of them, actually hundreds of thousands of them from what I hear, to be in what looks like very uncomfortable circumstances peacefully, so far miraculously peacefully. Why? To say we've had enough of the thievery of our freedoms. We've had enough of people that we elected to serve us telling us what we can and cannot do. A lot of these people are inoculated. Most of them are inoculated. It's not about that. It's about, I am a sovereign human being. I am a child of God. I'm a co-creative partner with God. You can't tell me what to do. You can't tell me to do something that isn't for my good because you made up things that I'm not allowed to question, because you want control. The control is Nimrod. The freedom comes from Abraham, and it is the inheritance of every human being. God himself, itself, beingness itself, enclothed its power of free choice in only one species in the universe, and that's the human being. You, me. That's the only place God's free choice can play out. Who has the right to take it away from you? Even God, through the Torah, through the blueprint, tells us what it takes. Strongly worded suggestions, the 10 commandments with their explanations. Do not worship other gods. Do not steal. Do not kill. But does he stop us from doing it? Nope. No coercion. Consequences, yes. Part of freedom is consequences. That's how you learn in a real human and internalized, authentic way. Not through coercion, which will keep you from learning. Coercion is the opposite of awakening. And awakening right now is the thing that matters most. Through freedom to experience consequences, freedom to make choices, obviously, that don't directly impact someone else's freedom. And that's where it's just a little bit tricky. And that's why God is also a minimalist, There weren't a billion commandments. There were certain number of suggestions, a lot more for the Jewish people who have a bit of a different mission to carry, and it's the universal mission, but also to carry the Torah, and more elaborate instructions. But in general, there are 7 laws for all of humanity that are musts that you have to do, or you're not a mensch. You're not doing the basics. But within those also, self-expression, creativity, it's all yours. And that's Avraham. That is the inheritance of every human being. It is the mission and the imperative of every human being. People, it's serious. It's life and death. If you think death is serious, I sort of do, because I've encountered it and I didn't like it. But, even there, like one of the promises of the next phase, which is coming so soon as we get it, one way or another, there's not going to be any more death, because death itself is an illusion. But right now it's life and death. Who wants to learn lessons a harder way? It's been hard enough. It's been way more than hard enough. So you've got, if you want to get out of this matrix, you have got to become free, which means you have to question what you're told. You have to get out of groupthink. You have to explore for yourself. You have to connect with your own inside, and you have to connect to the isness of the universe. And the Torah is the blueprint for creation, but it is not forced upon anyone. It's available for everybody. I was not a believer, and I was not Torah-based. I'm Jewish. I was born Jewish. My grandfather told the story. My heritage was that, but I didn't have any relationship to it other than tradition and appreciation for my family and the history. I didn't think it was for people like me, college kids. I thought that was for grandparents. And through my encounters with reality on a deeper level, I learn to see things differently, and I make my choices every day. And I see more and more for myself from the inside, the validation of the things that I was, taught once I chose to do that learning path. But that's my free choice. It's not anybody's privilege to foist it on me. God himself does not foist it on me. Nobody else is allowed to. So this is the nature of a godly universe, that we come to we take our suggestions and we explore them, and we come to our conclusions from the inside out. It is true that the Jewish people have had a binding contract with God. We've had a hard road. So I'm not suggesting that Jews who observe the Torah should not observe the Torah. That's not my suggestion at all. I think everyone should observe the Torah. But I'm not forcing you either. No one's forcing you. No one's forcing you. And to the degree, and this might be radical, but I believe it to the bottom of my being. And I think it's the call of the hour. With responsibility, self-responsibility is part of awakening. It's inextricable from awakening. You can't be careless and irresponsible and call yourself liberated and awake or divine. It just is not true. It's a lie. But I think it's the call of the hour to move away from anything that is coerced, from doing things because people expect it of you, not because they need you. Like, I'm not saying leave your family because they expect you to make, to feed your kids, or, I'm not saying leave your contracts or whatever. And again, it's not about being irresponsible. It's about waking up. So it's, why do you do what you do? Do you do it because of what your neighbors will think? Do you do it because you were taught that that's the right thing and really you're chafing against it? Or are you doing it because you once said you would, but you hate it and you feel like a slave? Are you doing it because you're being brainwashed and your comfort zone is to just listen to the same pundits tell you the same lies again and again and again? That is not freedom. And to the degree that you are living that life, that is the degree to which your inner Abraham, your inner intuition, your connection, your channel of revelation of the one God through your individual personality and mission, you are stifling it. And that is uncool. That leads to death, and it is leading to death. And we're in a world that's in trouble. It's also a world that's being born, that's birthing its new self, its deeper self, its destiny. Birth can be very tricky. Birth is not the safest time, right? Vast forces come together to push something out of an old space into a new space. And the better you care for yourself, the more you're educated, the more you're aligned, the easier it will go. So I'm saying this with the utmost seriousness. And with that, I want to say, so this is a call for freedom. Freedom, godly freedom, responsible freedom, peaceful freedom. Freedom that takes into account the entire mission. And that there is an is. And that, our own truth is really more like our own perspective and our own opinion. There is an absolute truth. And how deeply can I connect to it? How clear can I get about it? The Torah really helps because it's the blueprint for creation, for all humanity. It's God's wisdom and will. But you have free choice about that too. So I'm here to make suggestions. And the last thing that I want to say about that is I have, on behalf of this, the freedom of mankind and the joy of Adar, these 60 days of transformational, intense possibility and mazel that I talked about in last week's call. Today happens to be the 7th day of Adar. We finished. This is the completion of the first week. It's the birthday of Moshe Rabbeinu, of Moses, who was the receiver of the Torah, who connected, who stood in between on top of Mount Sinai, between heaven and earth, and talked to God for 40 days and downloaded all of the written Torah and all of the principles and the codes that would allow responsible, educated, followers over generations to reveal deeper levels that were part of that transmission on behalf of all mankind. He is the center of this time and the center of this transmission, a central soul. We all have a piece of Moshe, of Moses, within our core, and we are included within that central soul mystical concept. I've talked about it. But this is an incredibly auspicious day, and it's a day of freedom. And freedom is available, but it's a choice. So I'm suggesting choosing it. And the way that I am suggesting to facilitate that is through this project that I have launched yesterday on my birthday. And the first call was today. And that is the Prayer Convoy. So you can sign up for the Prayer Convoy at prayerconvoy.com. And I suggest strongly that you do, and that you share it with everybody that you know. Everybody that you know. It's just an invitation. They have free choice about it. The Prayer Convoy is designed to help people get together in small groups that will meet regularly, usually once a week, groups of about 4, and get to know each other and share their hearts with one another and pray for each other in the context of this larger convoy. Every trucker's got his own tractor trailer, or every person that comes to support is standing on his own 2 feet or driving a car. Everybody for themselves and everybody together. That's the Prayer Convoy. In our small groups, we lend our unique light and heart and intention and vision and prayer to those other 3 people and to ourselves, and everybody gets a turn. You know, most of us do this in a round robin. 3 minutes to say how your week was. You know, did you have any miracles? What's on your heart? Maybe 5 minutes. Next 5 minutes, you know, ask what you would like us to pray for, and we do it. Next 5 minutes, we give you feedback on what our experience was as we checked with you, as we connected with you in our prayer and intention for you, and you share your experience with us, and then we go to the next person. It takes about an hour. We step into the space once or twice a day for a minute, just to keep it going, and miracles happen. And when it's part of this convoy, one truck alone, you know, it can carry a nice amount of supplies to a grocery store or 2, but it's not going to change the world directly. 150,000 trucks, now we're talking. And that's the idea of unity. We're told, the Torah tells us that the temple, first and second temple was destroyed, was allowed to be destroyed because of disunity and baseless hatred amongst people. And they were promised that it will be rebuilt through avat chinam, which is unconditional love and connection. That's what the Prayer Convoy is here to do, to connect to the highest source, also within, to use that quality of your free choice of the divine within you to connect to the source of all that is within and out of you through your connection with other people and theirs with you, and up-level what it means to be human. And each one of us that lends our time and energy to that will experience incredible gifts in our own lives. This isn't about taking your time, you know, to give to others. It's not a sacrifice. It's a gift. It's for you. And the magic of it is, as you do it for you and for the people that you'll become very close to, just those few, you're doing it for the world. And as you're doing it for the world, what's possible, the amount of God that's revealed in the world, the amount of divine love and miracles and co-creative power accelerates and grows. And then the next time you get together and pray, more is possible. And this is the nature of the holographic reality. And this is a way that oneness expresses itself in each of us. So I'm going to end with that and just tell you that this is what matters. Everything that you're worried about as a human being, or you care about as a human being, there is one solution, and that is things change. And how do things change? It doesn't change by you starting, you know, I'm not saying people shouldn't protest. Convoys of protest, I think that's fantastic, because it's for freedom. It's for everybody gets to choose. Everybody, like the Declaration of Independence, right? Every person is free to choose life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, the pursuit of property. Those are divinely given rights. But as we're connecting to the unfolding future, and we're connecting to the divine vision that will come to be, and we're connecting to the power of unconditional love, just in very easy ways that immediately benefit us personally. And we're connecting to this, to the bigger world, spreading it to others. and in connection with others. We have weekly calls. We have a Telegram app. We're starting an Instagram page. Anyway, this does have the power to change the world really quickly. In fact, every prayer changes the world. But united prayer, an inversion, stop being a victim, start pushing the God energy into the world in connection with others, the liberation of the human spirit, world peace, the rising of humanity, the rising of the divinity within humanity. That's what it's about right now. There isn't anything else that touches this. Nothing. We have to do it. So, to joy in Adar, to the transformation of all darkness to light, to true freedom, to super empowered miraculous prayer. I want you to get in your pods, come to our calls, share your results. We want to be sharing miracles. We want to be sharing amazingness. It's already happening, but with smaller groups. I actually started this 6 months ago and then never did much about it, but now it's the time. Now it's the time for humanity to rise up and become who we're meant to be. And that will change everything. And here's a way you can do it. So lots of love. Happy Adar. See you next week.